Hey everybody, Shane Terrio here. Thank you for joining me again. Hey, let me ask you a question. Do cheap, crappy beater guitars maybe sometimes have a little more soul, a little more character, a little more charm? That's what we're going to talk about. I think the answer is yes. I think by the end of this video, I'm going to convince you that maybe you should add one to your guitar collection. And I'm going to show you how I transform this dog into one of my favorite secret weapon overdub acoustics. We're going to do a little A-B comparison. Stick around. Lots to come. So this was my first guitar. It's a Sears POS. You know what that stands for. It's a Sears, but not the hip Silvertone Jimmy Page Sears that we all know and love. No. This is a late 70s, early 80s Korean masterpiece. The thing I like about cheap guitars, they have a certain character, certain quality that you don't get from a really good sounding guitar. I mean, they're good in their own way. The imperfections, the lack of sustain, the little funkiness, it's a really great thing to add to your arsenal and your palette of guitars. When I first asked my parents, to get me a guitar, I was kind of envisioning, maybe if you grew up in the late 70s, 80s, like I did, digging through the Sears catalog, looking at all the Gibson Les Paul knockoffs, the no-name versions of Gibsons and Fenders, and I was lusting after a Les Paul with the, it had like 50 different controls, like most of them probably didn't do anything. I wanted that guitar, but Santa decided to leave this instead. So this is what I was stuck with. My uncle used to come over every day after school, show me how to tune it. And this is the guitar that I learned my D chords and struggled through bar chords and even struggled through. I remember learning this on this guitar and just pounding my fingers into pain and calluses, everything. So I spent, maybe a year on this guitar, maybe not even. And when my parents saw that I had got the bug and I was going to be a guitar, or I was interested enough in it, they helped me step up to like a real guitar. This is a Sears guitar. I don't know the model. It was made in Korea. I think made in Korea. Not sure what the Santa's Korean elf workers were up to at that point, but they really did a lot of things wrong to this guitar that I'll talk about. So this thing basically sat in the closet for years. And when my dad passed away, I was going through the stuff maybe 7-8 years ago, found it in the closet. Go, oh yeah, the whole back had separated, the bridge. I mean, it hadn't been tuned in years, hadn't been played. And at the time I was living in New York City, and I used to hang out a lot at a place called 30th Street Guitars. Shout out to Matt Brewster. 30th Street Guitars is a great store if you're ever in Manhattan. Matt works on a lot of the big boys in New York's guitars. He worked on quite a few of mine when I was living there. Anyway, I was up there one day, and Matt had this Roy Rogers like plastic guitar looking thing in the corner. And I said, you work on that stuff? Like those kind of guitars? And Matt said, man, I work on anything. So I said, I have a project. So I brought this guitar back up to him. And like I said, it was in complete disarray. And I brought it and I said, man, I don't have any delusions of being able to, make this into a baby Taylor or something, But if you could just put it back together and I could strum an E chord and feel a tinge of nostalgia, from my youth, it'd be cool. I'm a nostalgic sort of person. And I said, let me know what it would cost. So Matt called me a few months later. He said, come check out your guitar. And man, look what he had to do to this thing. You see where the original bridge was glued, and you can see the original paint underneath. He had to move the bridge and the saddle and everything. He basically redid the geometry and the math of the guitar to make it, what's the word? Intonatable. Is that a word? It is now. You know what I mean. And you can see how he actually added a fret to this thing. I mean, he really spent a lot of time on it. The other guy that worked at the counter goes, man, Matt spent forever on that guitar. But listen to it. I picked it up and I was like, wow, man, I've never been able to play this guitar in tune. And you can play big boy chords on it now. So the guitar has a lot of soul. And here's my theory now, getting to the point. First of all, the strings, I haven't changed these strings in 7 years. I like kind of dead strings on these type of guitars. It adds to the character. I think sometimes with a crappier guitar, the lack of sustain is actually your friend. You can hear, all of a sudden it's just got instant folk to it. I think that's why cats like Lindley, J.J. Cale, people like that sort of that lo-fi-ness thing, and it just adds to, the genre you're working in. So let's do a little A/B test. I'm going to play that intro piece on one of my A studio guitars, which is a 1952 Martin 0017. And then I'm going to play it again on this guitar. I'm going to use the same microphone, which is a Beyerdynamic MC930. Just a little bit of reverb, a Valhalla plate reverb, no EQ. So you're just hearing the guitar, and that's it. And let's see which one you like better. I don't think it's going to be a like better situation. I just think this is going to have a little more character to it. Let's check it out. There's other guitar players that use this approach. My friend Stuart Mathis, who worked with Lucinda Williams, is another person that comes to mind. We worked together with Leanne Rimes for a bit, but he's best known for being Lucinda Williams and also the Wallflowers guitar player. And Stuart was known for using the Teisco Del Rey guitars. Those things are funky. He must have had about 10 of these things laying around. And he had them all set up, and you wouldn't believe the vibe from that guitar. Cheapo guitar. I know people that actually played Eddie Van Halen Frankenstein guitar when Eddie was alive, and they told me, man, it wasn't really a great guitar. It was really heavy, and it was hard to play, and it was kind of a beater. But, of course, it's Eddie Van Halen. That guitar is iconic. That sound is pretty identifiable. So cheap guitars lend themselves to more character. You have to be able to play it in tune. But, maybe you have something laying around the house. Maybe there's a guy in town that could set it up for you, something even for slide, something for a high third acoustic, or anyway, find one of these things, man. They're like $50. So primarily I use this guitar for overdubs. Sometimes if I'm doing a recording session, it's a great secret weapon to lay apart on top of something, a rhythm pass. It just adds a little bit of lo-fi-ness to the track. The imperfections really pop out. And it adds a little bit of grit to things. I actually just used this guitar on a song I did with the Blind Boys of Alabama and Jay Buchanan for Rival Sons. I produced and arranged and played all the stuff on this song. It's a Christmas song. It's going to be coming out soon. This guitar was very featured on there, and it was perfect, man, because it just had that. swampy. It's strings funky, love it. So maybe you have something laying around, maybe a luthier in your town, or you could set it up yourself, maybe just a beater pawn shop guitar. It's good to have one lying around, man. It's just instant vibe. Check it out. Hey, if you like this and you got something from it, give me a like, subscribe. I'll see you next time. Shane Terrio out.